Hi, I'm Dan. Thanks for checking in on Dimgaard. A special thanks to the Patreon patrons and the backers on Kickstarter who backed the last volume, Volume 25. Volume 26 will be coming up. We should be launching that on Friday. So what's going on in Dimgaard at the moment? Right, so I was at Winter Fantasy, got back early Monday morning. Was basically out of pocket for a week. I had mentioned repeatedly that I expected to be premiering Dimgaard at one convention a month throughout 2018. I have had to revise that. The time investment is just not significant enough. So the return on the time investment is just not significant. So I can't be out of pocket like that. I'm neglecting the duties of managing and building the campaign as well as being the lead writer for a week a month, the way that was looking like it was going to require. So we've been forced to revise that down to Origins and Gen Con going forward. We'll reevaluate at the end of 2018, in particular if we have additional sponsorships who have conventions that request Dimgaard premieres at. That happened a couple of times last year, and we will still do that. So going forward, our plan, right, the espoused convention plan is Origins and Gen Con, and then in response to sponsors on an ad hoc basis. And I have to say I'm a little disappointed in that. I like going to conventions. I was kind of looking forward to a bigger convention presence. It's just unfortunate that we don't have the resources to do that. So that's that. So within the campaign itself, we've got Volume 26 we're looking at coming up on Friday. We'll run through the 1st of March. Really excited about that. I'm excited about that for a couple of reasons. The first is we're kicking off a new campaign, a new 21 chapter campaign, and that's always pretty thrilling to me. You've got like a blank canvas, and you're about to start filling it in. It's just a really good feeling. Of course, I'm 4 episodes deep into it as far as my actual gameplay goes. But looks really good. It's centered around the Blood Wars. And I did that for a couple of reasons. The first of all, there was a question from Josh that made me think about Dimgaard and extraplanar activity. And that made me realign my perspective on Dimgaard. Historically, Dimgaard has been very much a material plane focused, and it's had an early retirement level. 3.5 are retired characters at 10th level. Same thing in 2nd edition. We're now taking those all the way up to 20th, and that kind of implies that there has to be a broader embracing of extraplanar activities. So that was one thing. The second thing was I like the Blood War, and it's already come up at times. The entire Bleak War cycle, one of the components was Asmodeus trying to get a foothold in the Abyss, specifically to pursue his interest in the Blood War. So we've already touched on the Blood War in Dimgaard, and like I say, it's a favorite of mine. It's iconic. I like iconic things. And additionally, if you are following Merle's or any of the other foreshadowing about Morningheinen's tome of foes, you may note that there's a pretty heavy inclination that the Blood War is going to be a significant factor in that. And so that should align well with when Morningheinen's come out as part of the greater D&D world, right? We want to be ready to respond to that, already have something in the works that can leverage that new material. So it's called the Patron Wars, and like I said, we're really excited about that. We should have the the level 1 lead in to that out on www.dimgaard.com on Thursday, I think. That's my goal, but no later than Friday when the Kickstarter launches. So that's exciting. We are also moving into Pathfinder, and we're just taking baby steps. We're starting with a first level adventure. It was really interesting to get back in there. Pathfinder is very close to 3.5, right? Grew out of 3.5. And I had forgotten how much I enjoyed 3.5 until I started dabbling in this first level adventure. It's kind of a quirky thing. I wrote it in response to my daughter. She's 6 years old, so princesses play a big part in her fantasy endeavors. So it's a princess story is the name of the module, and if you've been following Dimgaard, you probably realize that it's not that everything is not as it seems. It's not just a princess. So, but I'm anxious to. So that is going to be a supplement. It's going to be one of the Patreon offerings for like the base level, the $1 level, right? Because I want to get this out to as many people as possible, and then as a reward for the patrons, it will also be the first stretch goal in the Kickstarter, right? Because I want to get this to as many people as possible. I'm excited to see the response of that. And that actually brings me to the next thing. So I've had a very good response to my call for questions, and I have, right, so if you look at the time since I did that, I had that big chunk at Winter Fantasy that I could have been answering several questions over the course of that time, but I was tied up with that. And that's why I'm saying that we're not going to be able to fulfill that ambitious convention goal this year. There are just too many things that I need to be doing that I think, while I personally enjoy conventions, really love Winter Fantasy, as a campaign manager, right, I can't allocate that big of a time resource to those things unless I'm just really, really confident that the payoff for the campaign is going to be big. And you know, it just wasn't for the campaign. For me personally, it was incredibly enjoyable, but for the campaign, not so much. So that's everything that's going on in Dimgaard at the moment. Thank you for taking 10 minutes of time to check it out. If you have any questions or comments, I hope to be answering about one of those a day going forward. Brief answers, 8 minutes, 9 minutes, 10 minutes at the most. But I tend to clear out that backlog. I've got a stack of several really good questions that I want to get posted, and you should see that coming. So a special thanks again to the Patreon patrons and to the folks who backed us in Volume 25 and are planning on backing us in Volume 26 that'll launch Friday.